Don't start your bikes. The brakes have failed.
No one expected a 5-year-old in scuffed sneakers to sound like a judge handing down a sentence. And yet, the parking lot went silent the moment she shouted. Before we dive into the story, I want to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city and country in the comments right now. Are you watching from your living room in Texas, your kitchen in London, your office break room in Canada? Let me know, because this story about courage, community, and protection is universal. It crosses borders, and I want to see how far this message reaches today. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our news stories. All right, let's go back. Oak Hollow Park had that slow, deceptive heat of late afternoon, where everything looked safe and ordinary. The sort of place Erin Walker and her little girl Zoe had come every Thursday for cheap ice cream and swings. Erin had just gotten the eviction notice, had been refreshing job boards on her phone between swings, and was trying to act like the world hadn't already started pulling the rug out from underneath them. Zoe was stubbornly proud of the dinosaur shirt her grandmother had found at a yard sale. It was a size too big, and the collar hung like she'd borrowed it from a much older cousin. They fit together the way two pieces of broken furniture sometimes do. Scuffed, but steady. The sound of 6 big V-twin engines arriving made Erin's neck tighten. The men who dismounted were older than the guys you saw in movies, worn with exact kinds of weather and stories that print wrinkles on the face. Their patches read a name Erin had heard whispered in stories from her mom, the Grim Riders. Erin pulled Zoe close, ready to cross to the car, the mother voice that had protected her own since childhood snapping into place. But as they passed the row of parked chrome beasts, Zoe let go of Erin's hand and ran, not away, toward them, and shouted like the world was on fire. "Don't start your bikes! Don't start your bikes!" Her voice cut through the laughter and cigarette smoke and turned 6 heads. It was small and furious and perfectly clear. One of the riders, a mountain of a man with a salt and pepper braid and a crooked grin, stepped forward. "Hey kid, what's—" he began, then froze. Behind his back, a shadow moved. A young man in a plain gray hoodie crouched by the bikes near the eucalyptus line, hands busy where a mechanic's hands shouldn't have been. Erin's first thought was simple and animal. That man was not supposed to be doing that. Zoe pointed, her little finger trembling. "He's cutting them! He's cutting your brakes!" The world compressed into the next 10 seconds. The riders set down their cigarettes. The rider with the braid, who introduced himself as Brock, sprang toward the bikes. And Erin felt the sickening sight for the first time. Brake hoses, clean through on 3 bikes, snapped like the last thread in a cheap sweater. If those riders had gunned the throttles without checking, the freeway would have swallowed steel and flesh. A different rider, lean and quick, grabbed his phone and barked for plates, while 2 others tore after a gray sedan that had already peeled away on Van Buren. Brock knelt, cheeks hard as flint, eyes cold. "Who saw him?" he asked. Zoe's small hand tugged Erin's sleeve. "I did," she said, and Erin's throat closed. They were cautious. They were not monsters, at least not to the people they considered their own. And they moved now with a speed that belied their size, scanning, calling, planning. Brock's voice softened when he crouched to Zoe's level. "What's your name, little one?" he asked gently. Zoe barely whispered. "Zoe." Brock smiled, a rough kind of reverence in it. "Zoe saved our hides today." Erin felt something she hadn't felt in months, startled gratitude. That gratitude didn't make things simpler. Within an hour, the local dispatcher had a call. The riders, the cut lines, a plate number. Someone had meant for those motorcycles to shred on asphalt. Someone had been willing to risk death to make a point. Erin's life, which had been quiet and precarious, now intersected with danger that had counted costs and chosen targets. The riders thanked them, promised to have men watching Erin's apartment that night, and offered to buy them dinner at a nearby diner called Millie's, an offer Erin accepted with the defensive politeness of someone who has learned not to refuse help. When Detective Perez arrived 10 minutes later, uniformed and brisk, Erin told the story again. The man, the cuts, the getaway car. Perez took notes, but his eyes kept flicking to the riders with the sort of skepticism that practices on the street. The riders, in turn, bristled when Perez suggested they handle it themselves. "We need them on camera," Perez said. "We need statements." Brock agreed, but his jaw tightened with an unspoken promise. Whoever sent that man would get a message. Over thick burgers and a chocolate malt that Zoe declared the best thing alive, the riders talked strategy. Erin, who had come to the park to forget the bills for an afternoon, realized she'd stepped into a fight she hadn't chosen, and it would change everything. There was also a piece of news Brock didn't say out loud, but left in the air. Someone powerful was behind the hit. Money often buys quiet, and quiet keeps the poor invisible. Erin watched her daughter eat and understood with sudden, cold clarity that the same danger that had targeted leather could target a witness just as easily. As the sun slid low, two riders fell into a protective formation and followed Erin home, engines idling like guardians outside her apartment. Inside, Erin packed a small bag on Brock's instructions. Essentials, Zoe's stuffed dinosaur, phone chargers. She sent a text to the last contact she had in town, hands trembling, and waited. What they discovered in the hours after, the paper trail, the burner phone, and a name that smelled like development deals in cold money, would pull Erin, Zoe, and the Grim Riders into a battle that wasn't only about bikes. It was a fight over a neighborhood, over who gets to be seen and who gets to be pushed aside. And it had only just begun. The man who ordered the sabotage is revealed, and Erin receives a chilling message that forces the riders to decide. Go public and risk everything, or stay silent and let fear win. Brock's bike lights cut a bright arc across Erin's cracked sidewalk as he pulled up outside her building, the engine settling into a low, throaty rumble. He killed the motor, and for a second the street was only the sound of a distant freight and Zoe's stuffed dinosaur bumping against Erin's shoulder as she clutched it. Deacon, the lean, quick rider who'd exchanged numbers with Detective Perez, jogged up the steps behind him, phone in hand. "We traced the plates," Deacon said without preamble, voice blunt. He showed Erin a photo on his screen, a gray sedan, rental company watermark, a partial receipt with a local branch stamp. Paid cash at a kiosk 3 blocks from the park. Security camp picked up the buyer's face for about 5 seconds. He tapped the image. "We got a good frame. Officer Perez is running it through facial recognition now." Erin's stomach flipped, and the apartment seemed to tilt. The idea of someone watching them, paying for violence with cash to avoid signature or paper trail, it felt like something from a movie, not the flattened, exhausted rooms of her life. Deacon's eyes were steady. "We tracked cash before. It's messier, but it's a trace. There's a name that keeps surfacing. Gavin Harper, big developer, owns a string of strip malls and a few municipal favors. People say he doesn't like their clubhouse." "Harper's," Erin repeated. The name meant nothing to her except the way Deacon said it, like a warning. That afternoon, Detective Perez called Erin in for another statement. He'd been courteous but pragmatic before. This time he leaned forward like a man trying to hold together a puzzle. "Harper has been on our radar for questionable acquisitions," Perez said, flipping through a notepad. "If he had someone sabotage bikes to send a message, that's escalation. We'll subpoena records if we need to, but a developer with money can bury things fast." His eyes landed on Erin, and there was something in his tone that tried to be reassuring and failed. "Going public helps. Media coverage brings scrutiny. Scrutiny makes it harder for powerful people to move in the dark." Deacon and Brock watched Erin as if they measured her heart by the small rise and fall of her chest. "We can make it loud," Brock said later, when they met at Millie's and Zoe napped with her head on Erin's lap. His voice had the unvarnished calm of someone who'd seen threats and decided how to answer them. "We can make it loud, but Gavin Harper can buy lawyers like most folks buy coffee. He'll sick legal eagles on you, smear the riders, say we're coercing witnesses, intimidating folks. He's got friends who show up in suits." Rosa, the diner owner with eyes that saw through excuses, slid a fresh coffee and a pile of napkins in front of Erin like armor. "Honey, you gonna let some man with a suit scare you into hiding?" she asked. Erin wanted to say yes. Hiding sounded like the only reasonable way to protect Zoe.
Instead, she thought of her daughter's small finger pointing, the purity of a child who knows right from wrong without margins. "No," Aaron said quietly, "but I'm scared." Brock put a hand over hers. "You don't have to handle that fear alone." He half laughed, half growled. "We'll watch your place. We can put you up at a spot until this blows over. Safe house, no strings." He wanted to say more, how the club had safe rooms, a list of members who rotated watches, but his face kept the conversation measured. The offer sounded like a life raft and an insult at the same time. Accepting meant surrendering a freedom Aaron had fought to keep, even while losing everything else. That night, she got the first message, an anonymous burner text, short and precise. "Good girl. Keep talking and we'll make sure you and yours disappear." Aaron's hands went numb as she showed it to Deacon. "We're filing this with Perez," Deacon said, jaw tight, "and we're tracing every number that touched that phone. Don't respond." The next morning, as if on cue, a sleek black SUV idled twice at the corner of the complex, headlights off, drivers studying the building like someone making a shopping list. Marcus, one of the riders on guard duty, noticed it from across the street and reported in. Within minutes, 2 club members were visible at opposite ends of Aaron's block, casual as neighbors with the practiced look of men who belonged nowhere and everywhere at once. Once again, the question rose, heavier than any threat. Go public or stay shadowed? Brock convened a small council in Millie's back booth. The writers argued in low, clipped sentences, laying out the playbook. Make it public and draw the media, force Harper's hand, or stay quiet, work through back channels, and neutralize the hitman silently. Snake, the chapter president, older and slow to anger, watched Aaron while the club weighed its choices. Finally, he said, "We do both. We keep pressure on the police, we leak strategic pieces to the local reporter who does not play nice, and we make sure every move Harper makes gets eyes." Just as they left the diner, Aaron's phone rang. The number was blocked. She answered because not answering felt like the same as surrender. A voice, male, smooth as a polished stone, said, "Ms. Walker? Gavin Harper. I'm sorry about your parking lot incident. Business can be messy. Best for you to stop talking." The line clicked dead. Aaron sat in the dark car long after the riders had revved away, Zoe sleeping in the back seat with a thumb in her mouth. The scent of coffee and grease from Millie's lingered. The text, the SUV, the voice, all of it threaded into a single fact. Someone with money had declared her a problem. Someone was telling her to be quiet. She could stay invisible. She could go nowhere, hope Harper got bored. Or she could step into the light and force the very people who feared his influence to choose sides. Detective Perez gets a breakthrough. A burner phone trail leads to an unexpected name, and Aaron faces an impossible choice. Accept the writer's safe house and a life-changing offer, or keep her independence and risk everything.
Aaron barely slept. Every creak of the apartment, every passing car light against the blinds, every soft sigh from Zoe felt like a countdown. By sunrise, she had brewed coffee she didn't drink, checked the peephole 4 times, and sat rigid on the couch while 2 grim riders kept watch outside, like silent statues. At 9:12 a.m., her phone vibrated. "Detective Perez, I need you at the station. We have something." Something. She didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. Brock insisted she ride with him. "Not negotiable," he said, handing Zoe a small leather vest with a tiny Grim Rider's patch stitched on the back. "Keeps her visible. No one will mess with a kid wearing colors under our protection." Aaron almost cried at the gesture. Zoe wore it proudly. The station smelled like old paper and strong coffee. Perez led them to a small interview room and shut the door before speaking. "You were right to contact me last night," he said. "We traced the burner phone used for the threat. It pinged off a tower near an industrial complex Harper owns. One of the buildings has a subleased office to a shell company. That shell company? It's tied to a former private security contractor." "Contractor?" Aaron repeated. "A fixer," Perez clarified. "Legally, just a guy who helps clients. Unofficially, he's muscle for hire. His name is—" He slid a photo across the table. Late 40s, hard eyes, crooked nose, probably broken more than once. A face that looked like it had spent years being paid to disappear other faces. Aaron swallowed.
So he's the one who tried to sabotage the bikes? Perez shook his head. Not directly. We believe he hired the younger man who did the cutting. Brogan doesn't get his hands dirty. He's a middleman, which means behind him is Harper, Deacon finished from the corner. He'd refused to let Aaron come alone. Perez didn't deny it. But, the detective continued carefully, we have no direct evidence tying Harper to Brogan. Not yet. The shell companies shield them both. If we push too hard without proof, Harper's lawyers will bury this under procedure. So what's next? Aaron asked. Perez hesitated. You're a witness, Ms. Walker, and the threats make your safety a priority. You need out of your apartment. Before Aaron could respond, Brock stepped forward. That's why she's coming with us. Perez exhaled sharply. I'm not endorsing vigilante protection. You can call it whatever you want, but we're not letting a little girl become collateral because a guy with a fancy watch wants our clubhouse land. There are Selters, Perez countered. No, Brock said firmly. Selters don't stop men like Harper. We do. Perez, Aaron said quietly, I can't protect Zoe alone. I don't have money. I don't have family here. I don't even have a place to go once we're evicted next week. The detective's face softened a degree. The department can provide increased patrols. Patrols? Brock scoffed. Harper owns half the politicians in this city. He has private guys watching her building. He sent a kid to scout her window last night. Perez sat up straighter. A kid? Deacon nodded. Runner in his teens. Harper's people are testing boundaries. And you confronted him? Perez asked, already knowing the answer. We pointed him home, strongly. Deacon replied. Perez sighed. If Harper escalates, he already has, Aaron whispered. Silence filled the room. Zoe, unaware of the gravity, hummed to herself and played with the zipper on her tiny vest. Aaron's throat tightened. Her daughter had no idea her bravery had lit a fuse under dangerous men. Perez closed the file. Aaron, you should take the Ryder's safe house option, temporarily, until we get Brogan in custody. Aaron blinked. You're recommending it? I'm recommending you stay alive. And Harper won't try anything against you there. He might be ruthless, but he isn't suicidal. No one touches someone under outlaw protection without consequences. Brock and Deacon exchanged a look, that rare unspoken understanding. Aaron felt the ground shift beneath her feet, the kind of shift that meant her choices mattered now in ways they never had before. All right, she said, voice wavering. We'll go. Deacon exhaled, relieved. Perez added, one more thing. We subpoenaed Harper's financials this morning, and something strange came up. A quiet land purchase near your old neighborhood, Aaron. A building Harper bought 3 days ago. Why would he buy anything there? Aaron asked. Perez glanced at Zoe, then lowered his voice. Because that building gives him a direct line of sight to the Ryder's clubhouse. A chill crawled up Aaron's spine. He wasn't just threatening them. He was setting up something bigger. Aaron and Zoe move into the Ryder's guarded safe house, but Harper's next move exposes a secret connection between Aaron's past and the man trying to silence her, a connection she never saw coming.
Aaron didn't expect the Ryder's safe house to look normal. When Brock's truck turned down a quiet street in Maple Ridge, a neighborhood with trimmed lawns, basketball hoops in driveways, and wind chimes tapping softly in the breeze, she expected something rougher. Something matching the stereotype of outlaw bikers. Instead, the house at the end of the cul-de-sac was a pale blue Craftsman with a wraparound porch and an American flag that looked freshly washed. There were flower beds, a porch swing, a welcome mat that actually said, "Welcome." "This is it?" Aaron asked skeptically. "This is it," Deacon said. His voice always carried a low warmth when he spoke to her. Discreet, off the books. Belongs to Snake's sister. No one but Club knows who stays here. Zoe hopped out of the truck and gasped. "Mama, it has a swing, a real one." Aaron's heart did something she hadn't felt in weeks. It lightened.
Inside, the house smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and old books. The furniture was simple, sturdy. A kitchen with actual counter space, a bedroom with clean blankets. Zoe sprinted down the hall and immediately claimed the room with a window view of the backyard. Rosa arrived 15 minutes later with groceries. Not cheap, nearly expired groceries Aaron used to buy, but fresh bread, real vegetables, chicken, snacks for Zoe. "Child," she said, placing the bags down, "you look like someone who hasn't had a proper meal since Obama's first term. Sit, eat." Aaron opened her mouth to protest, to say she didn't want to be a burden, but Rosa cut her off with a raised eyebrow sharp enough to slice marble. "You saved their lives," Rosa said. "Now let us feed yours." Brock and Deacon did a sweep of the house. Windows secured, cameras adjusted, a guard schedule placed on the fridge. Aaron watched them in awe. Men who could crush an enemy with their bare hands, but still adjusted child-safe locks on a hallway cabinet. Snake, the club president, arrived last. Tall, weathered, with silver streak through his beard, he had the grounded authority of someone who'd spent his life walking through fire and survived anyway. "Miss Walker," he greeted her politely, "you're safe here. We'll rotate watches. No one gets within 10 feet of this street without us knowing." Aaron nodded. "Thank you. I don't know how to repay any of this." Snake shook his head. "You don't owe us. Your daughter saved 6 of my guys. That makes you ours. We look after our own." End of discussion. But then Snake's expression shifted. He motioned Deacon and Brock to step aside. "There's something you need to hear." Aaron braced herself. Snake placed a thin folder on the kitchen table. "Perez sent this over an hour ago. It's about Harper and about you." "Me?" Her voice cracked. "I've never met the man." Snake took a long breath. "We know, but that's not the whole story." He opened the file and slid a photo toward her. Aaron stared at the image. A man in a suit. A younger Gavin Harper, maybe 10 years younger, leaving a courtroom, reporters flashing cameras at him. Beside him, Aaron felt like the air had been punched out of her. Beside him was her ex-husband, Jacob Walker. His hand on Harper's shoulder like they were longtime colleagues. "What?" she whispered. "Is that really?" Deacon nodded grimly. Perez confirmed they were connected through a property acquisition deal from years ago. Harper helped him get out of a fraud investigation. Aaron trembled. "Jacob told me he was innocent. He said the case was a misunderstanding." Snake gave a bitter laugh. "Misunderstandings don't get dropped because of misunderstandings. They get dropped because someone with deep pockets pulls strings." Aaron's pulse hammered. "But why would Harper target me? I've never spoken to Jacob in years." Brock leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "We think Harper assumes Jacob told you something. Something about that case. Something that could be used against him." Aaron shook her head. "Jacob told me nothing. He disappeared. He left us with debt and no explanation." "That might be exactly why Harper is scared," Deacon said quietly. "Because if Jacob resurfaced, you might be the only person who could tie loose ends together." Zoe ran into the kitchen with a plush dinosaur raised triumphantly over her head. "Mama, my room has a nightlight shaped like a moon." Aaron hugged her tightly, but her eyes stayed locked on the photo. Jacob and Harper. Friends? Business partners? Criminal allies? And if Harper thought Aaron knew something, then the threats weren't just about silencing a witness. They were about covering up a past he thought could destroy him. Aaron closed the folder slowly. "Whatever this is," she said, her voice trembling but firm, "I'm not running from it." Snake smiled approvingly. "Good, because we're not running either."
The writers uncover the real reason Harper bought the building overlooking their clubhouse, and Zoe accidentally reveals a secret that puts Aaron directly in Harper's crosshairs. The first night in the safe house should have brought relief, but Aaron barely closed her eyes. Every shift of wind against the windows made her tense. Every motorcycle hum outside made her jump before reminding herself those engines meant safety now. Those engines were the reason Zoe slept peacefully in her moon-shaped nightlight room. At dawn, Deacon knocked softly on the front door before entering. The club rule was never to surprise someone inside a sanctuary. His t-shirt was damp with morning dew, and he carried a folder tucked under one arm. "Did you sleep at all?" he asked gently. Aaron shrugged. "A little, maybe." Zoe, still in pajamas, ran out and launched herself toward him for a hug he caught easily. "Deacon, Brock saved me from a spider," she announced proudly. Deacon raised an eyebrow. "A spider, huh?" Brock grunted from the couch, flipping through security footage on his tablet. "Little monster was bigger than it had any right to be." Aaron smiled briefly, but her chest remained tight. Deacon set the folder down on the table. "We found something last night. Something you need to see." Snake arrived moments later, his boots heavy against the hardwood. Rosa followed with a tray of breakfast burritos she forced into Aaron's hands. "Eat first," she insisted. "You can't face trouble on an empty stomach." But trouble doesn't wait. Snake opened the folder and laid out blueprints, property maps, survey charts, building overlays. Brock scratched his beard. "This is the building Harper bought 3 days ago, the one Perez flagged." Aaron frowned. "I thought it was just a commercial space." "It is," said Deacon. 6 offices, a loading dock, and a rooftop access point. He tapped the map. "Direct line of sight to our clubhouse yard. It faces the exact area where brothers work on their bikes. If someone wanted easy visual coverage—" "Or a sniper perch," Brock added bluntly. Aaron's skin went cold. Snake didn't soften it. Harper didn't buy that building to expand his portfolio. He bought it to watch us, or attack us, or pressure us. Aaron felt the room sway. "But why risk coming after you now? Why escalate?" Deacon exchanged a long look with Snake. "Because of you," Deacon said gently. "You're the unknown variable. Harper doesn't like unknowns." Before Aaron could answer, Zoe tugged on her sleeve. "Mama, can I show Deacon my drawing?" Aaron nodded absently. Zoe ran to her backpack and pulled out a sheet of paper covered in scribbles of buildings, little stick people, and what looked like a boxy gray car. "That's the car the man drove, the one who cut the metal things." The writers froze. Snake leaned in. "Zoe, baby, can you show me where the car was parked?" She pointed to the bottom of the page where she'd drawn a row of rectangles. "These were your bikes," she said matter-of-factly, "and this was the bad man's car. He parked behind that thing, that big box with wires." Aaron blinked. "Wires? What wires?" Zoe nodded eagerly. "The ones sticking out like snakes." Brock's eyes widened. "Power junction. The electrical substation near the park. It's fenced, but you can crouch behind it without being seen." Snake's voice dropped. "She saw more than we realized." Zoe kept drawing. "And the other man, the fancy one, he walked around that same box last week." The room fell silent. Deacon knelt. "Zoe, what other man?" "The man Mama talked about," she said casually, "with the shiny shoes. He talked on the phone and said, 'Make sure the engines don't leave the park.'" Aaron's heart stopped. Zoe had overheard something important. "When was this?" Snake asked, calmly, though his jaw had clenched. Zoe shrugged. "I was swinging. Mama was talking to the ice cream man. The man with shiny shoes didn't see me." Aaron's blood ran cold. Harper had been there. Harper had been physically present at the park days before the sabotage, scouting, planning, verifying. And Zoe had seen him. Harper didn't just think Aaron might know something. He now had a reason to believe Zoe was the real threat. Brock stood, face darkening. He was planning even then. He walked that area days before the cut lines. He was prepping a hit. Snake turned to Deacon. "Double the watch. No one gets within a mile of this house without eyes on them. And tell Perez what the kid remembered.
That's probable cause for surveillance warrants. Deacon nodded and stepped aside to make the calls. Aaron held Zoe close. You didn't do anything wrong, baby. You were very brave. Zoe smiled up at her. Am I helping? Yes, sweetheart, Aaron whispered shakily. More than you know. Snake rested a steady hand on Aaron's shoulder. He's afraid of you now. That means we strike next, and hard. Aaron looked at the blueprint again. The rooftop, the sightlines, the danger closing in. Then tell me what I have to do, she said. Snake smiled, not kindly, but approvingly. We go public, loudly, and we don't give Harper room to breathe. Aaron goes on camera for a televised interview, but Harper hits back harder than anyone expects, and the writers discover a plan that could destroy everything in one night.
Aaron didn't think standing in front of a TV camera would feel like walking into an ambush. But when the KRTN news van rolled up to the safe house driveway, lights flashing in the early evening, that's exactly how her body reacted. Tight chest, dry mouth, palms sweating. She wasn't built for this. She wasn't built for microphones and public statements and the possibility that a powerful man would watch her story and decide she'd crossed an unforgivable line. But Zoe was playing on the porch, tracing chalk stars on the wooden steps with Brock watching her like a hawk. And somewhere out there, Gavin Harper was pacing like a man cornered. If Aaron didn't speak, the silence would swallow them. Jessica Lane, the reporter Detective Perez recommended, stepped out with calm efficiency, shaking Aaron's hand firmly. I know this is scary, Jessica said, but the camera isn't your enemy. You're telling your truth, and the more people who hear it, the harder it becomes for anyone to hurt you. Deacon adjusted the porch light so Aaron's face wouldn't be shadowed. We'll be off frame, but we're here the whole time. Aaron nodded, though she still felt miles from steady. The interview began with simple questions: her name, her daughter, what she saw at the park the day of the sabotage. But halfway through, Jessica's questions sharpened. You say a man sabotaged the brake lines. You say he fled when the bikers approached. Have the police identified this man? They have leads, Aaron answered carefully. And do you believe, Jessica pressed, that this was connected to Gavin Harper? Deacon tensed behind the camera. Snake's jaw ticked. Aaron inhaled slowly. I believe someone with influence wanted to intimidate the Grim Riders, and I believe that same someone is trying to intimidate me and my daughter. Jessica nodded, sensing the gravity. And you've received threats? Aaron opened her phone and showed the anonymous text, blurred for TV, but unmistakably threatening. Jessica continued. Why not stay quiet? Why go public now? Aaron looked directly into the camera. Because my daughter acted bravely. Because she saw something wrong and spoke up. And what kind of mother would I be if I didn't fight to protect her now? She didn't plan the crack in her voice. It came naturally, raw and honest. I won't be scared into silence. Not anymore. Jessica finished filming, thanked Aaron and promised to handle the segment with care. Deacon escorted her to her van, making sure she left safely. For the first time in days, she thought maybe she'd done something right. That feeling lasted 4 minutes. Because 4 minutes later, Deacon's phone buzzed with a message from Detective Perez. Emergency. Call ASAP. Deacon stepped aside and dialed. Aaron watched his expression shift from neutral to concerned to furious. When he hung up, he turned to Snake. They hit the clubhouse. Aaron's breath caught. What do you mean hit? Snake was already moving toward the garage where his bike was parked. Break-in, office trashed, files missing. No one hurt. Kids weren't there, but this is a strike. Deacon clarified, Perez says cameras caught 2 masked men inside the yard at 3 p.m. They were in the building less than 3 minutes. They knew where to go. Aaron felt like the ground moved beneath her. Harper? Looks like it, Deacon said. Perez thinks Harper is trying to destroy paperwork, anything connecting him to past deals with your ex. Aaron sank onto the porch swing. I didn't know Jacob had anything to do with Harper. I didn't know any of this. Snake revved his bike, fury simmering beneath his calm voice. Harper's panicking. A cornered man is a dangerous man. Zoe peeked out the window. Mama, why is Mr. Snake leaving? Is he mad? Erin forced herself to smile. He's going to check on the clubhouse, baby. Everything's okay. But everything was absolutely not okay. Rosa arrived minutes later with more groceries and hot chocolate for Zoe, but even she looked shaken. He's lashing out. Men like Harper lose their grip, they get sloppy. That's how they're caught and how people get hurt in the process. As the sun dipped behind the neighborhood roofs, engines growled to life one by one. The riders left in formation, heading toward the vandalized clubhouse. Erin stood at the door watching the taillights fade. Deacon stayed behind, leaning in the doorway, arms crossed. This was retaliation for the interview. Harper wanted to send you a message. What message? That he's not done, Deacon said, but neither are we. A crack of thunder echoed in the distance. Storm clouds gathered over Maple Ridge. And Perez said something else, Deacon added. The security footage caught a second vehicle circling the clubhouse, same model as the one Zoe drew. Erin felt her knees go weak. Harper's planning something bigger, Deacon said, and it's happening soon. A Grim Riders meeting uncovers Harper's full plan, a staged explosion meant to frame the bikers and wipe out the clubhouse in one night, and Erin realizes she might be the only person who can stop it.
The storm didn't wait for midnight. Rain hammered the safe house roof like someone drumming warnings with both fists. Zoe slept curled under her moon nightlight, unaware of the war brewing just beyond her window. Erin stood in the hallway, watching Deacon pace the living room with his phone pressed to his ear. His face shifted between concentration and anger as new information rolled in. The riders had been at their clubhouse for hours, sweeping the property for more damage. Finally, Deacon ended the call and looked at Erin with a kind of tired intensity. "Snake wants us there," he said. "Now." Erin tightened her grip on her jacket. "Why?" "Because what we found changes everything." Brock arrived moments later in a truck. Erin lifted Zoe gently, settling her into the back seat. The child barely stirred, trusting her mother in a way that hit Erin like a soft knife. She had to keep her safe. She had to. The clubhouse was buzzing with engines, flashlights, and voices the moment they arrived. Men moved like pieces on a chessboard, deliberate and coordinated. A few nodded respectfully at Erin, but everyone's attention was fixed on Snake, who stood in the center of the yard beneath the lone floodlight. Snake wasn't a man easily rattled. That night he looked carved from something harder than anger. "We swept the place twice," he announced, "and we found something in the maintenance bay." He lifted a metal device, wrapped carefully in thick gloves. A detonator. Erin's mouth went dry. "Is that—" "Explosive trigger," Brock said. "Industrial grade, hidden behind the shelving, set on a timer." Rosa, who had arrived minutes earlier, muttered a prayer. Deacon clarified, "We don't think the bomb was installed yet, just the trigger mechanism. The rest probably would have been brought later." Snake nodded. "Harper's boys broke in earlier, the masked men. They weren't just after paperwork. They were prepping the building, setting up the wiring, getting ready for something big." "An explosion," Erin whispered. "A staged one," Deacon added. "Blame it on us. Paint the riders as violent criminals trying to blow up their own clubhouse during a turf dispute." Snake exhaled. "We think Harper wants justification, public justification, to push the city council to shut us down. He blows this building, gets the media to call us domestic threats, and suddenly the land is seized. Eminent domain. He wins." "But where do I fit into this?" Erin asked, voice shaking. Deacon looked at Snake for permission, then answered. "Your leverage. If we fight back publicly, he threatens you. If we go quiet and let him blow the place, he destroys evidence connected to your ex and gets rid of us in one move. Either way, you're the linchpin." Erin staggered. "I never asked to be part of this." Snake softened just an inch. "Nobody asks for war, Miss Walker, but some people don't back down from it. And that's you." Before Erin could respond, a shout echoed across the yard. "Snake, we got something else." They hurried inside. A younger rider named Jax held up a laptop bag.
Guess the idiots dropped it. Inside were documents, architectural grids, copies of city permit applications, and a floor plan of the clubhouse with 3 specific areas circled in red. The back exit, the attached storage shed, the children's play corner the riders set up for club events. Erin clapped her hand over her mouth. Oh my God! He was planning to trigger it when the kids were here. Rosa swore under her breath. Brock punched the wall hard enough to dent the drywall. Deacon's hands curled into fists. Snake took a long, steadying breath. This isn't business anymore. This is personal. Erin forced herself to read the notes scribbled in the margins. Most were logistical, but one sentence was underlined twice. Ensure witness's kid is nowhere near the site. Unnecessary complication if injured. Erin's blood froze. He was planning around Zoe. He knew exactly who she was. He's watching us, Erin whispered. He's watching me. Deacon placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We'll keep her safe. You have my word. Snake cleared his throat. The interview bought us time, but not much. Harper will push fast now. He needs this done before Perez gets warrants. Erin steadied herself. So what do we do? Snake looked at her, then at the riders. We expose him, not with interviews, with undeniable proof. We get inside that building he bought. Tonight. Rosa gasped. You'll be arrested. Better arrested than blown up, Brock said. Erin shook her head. But you need evidence, real evidence. Something Harper can't bury with lawyers. Snake stepped forward. And that's why you're coming, Erin. She froze. Me? You're the witness he's targeting. You're the connection to the fraud case. You're the only person he didn't account for, and you're the only one the police and press will believe if they see that building with their own eyes. Erin's voice dropped to a tremble. You want me to walk straight into Harper's stronghold? Deacon met her eyes gently. Not alone. With us. Erin looked at Zoe, sleeping safely now in Rose's arms, and felt something replace fear. Resolve. If going there stops him, then tell me where to stand. Erin, Deacon, and the riders break into Harper's surveillance building at midnight, but what they find inside isn't just evidence. It's a trap, meant for Erin herself.
Midnight had a way of making the world feel hollow, like the streets had exhaled all their people and left only shadows behind. The rain had stopped, but the pavement still glistened as Brock's truck rolled slowly down the industrial road toward Harper's newly purchased building. The place looked ordinary from a distance. 4 stories of concrete, tinted windows, a 4-lease spanner hung crookedly over the front entrance. Nothing about it suggested it held surveillance equipment, explosive schematics, or the fingerprints of a man powerful enough to move city council votes with a single check. But power rarely announces itself. It hides, and darkness was its favorite cloak. Erin rode in the back seat with Deacon, her hands shaking despite her best efforts. She glanced over her shoulder to the truck behind them. 2 more riders following close, silent and grim. Snake led the front vehicle. Last chance, Deacon murmured. You don't have to go inside. Erin shook her head. Harper is doing all of this because he thinks I know something. If I run now, he wins. Deacon's eyes flashed with something warm. Pride, maybe. Just stay behind me once we're in. Snake parked a block away. They moved on foot, a formation that would have looked threatening if anyone else had been around, but this industrial park slept at night. The only witnesses were flickering streetlights and the hum of electrical lines. The building loomed ahead like a waiting jaw. Snake signaled. Jax and Rocco jogged to the side panel and worked the lock. Within 30 seconds, it clicked open. This is too easy, Brock muttered. Deacon agreed. Harper doesn't make sloppy mistakes. They entered quietly. The interior smelled like dust and new paint, with a faint chemical undertone no one liked. The first floor was empty, just drywall, rolled carpet, and stacked boxes still wrapped in plastic. Their footsteps echoed. According to the blueprints, Deacon whispered, the office Harper renovated is on the 3rd floor. That's where the power junction connects. Erin swallowed hard and followed them up the stairwell. Every step felt heavier. On the second-floor landing, she paused. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. They stopped. Silence. Then, a faint ticking. Small, precise, coming from above them. Snake raised his hand. Slow, careful, eyes sharp. On the third floor, the ticking grew louder. They reached a hallway lit only by emergency strips along the floor. Office doors lined both sides, most closed, one slightly ajar. Brock pointed at that one. "That's the one." Deacon moved first. Erin stayed behind him, gripping her flashlight so hard her knuckles whitened. The door creaked softly as they pushed it open. Inside, the temperature felt colder. Computer towers hummed against one wall. A large map of Riverside was pinned to a corkboard, with push pins marking several locations: the park, the clubhouse, Erin's apartment complex. Her breath caught. Then she saw the monitor. A single security feed on the screen. The safe house. Her safe house. She saw the porch swing, the driveway, the window of Zoe's room. "No," Erin gasped. "He's been watching us?" Snake growled. "This son of a—" Brock cut him off. "We need to take this whole system." But Deacon wasn't looking at the screens. He was looking at the center of the room, at the small black box strapped under the desk, the source of the ticking. A device with a blinking red light. Not a bomb. Something else. "A motion-triggered alarm," Deacon whispered. "We tripped it the second we stepped inside." Snake cursed. "We need to move, now." But Erin wasn't looking at the device anymore. She was staring at something else pinned to the wall. A manila folder with her name written across the front in thick black ink. E. Walker. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were photographs. Of her. Taken over weeks. Photos of her picking up Zoe from school, carrying groceries, standing at the park, walking to her old apartment. And at the back of the folder, a printed email exchange between Gavin Harper and her ex-husband. The subject line chilled her blood. Erin. Risk factor. Mitigate. Her vision blurred. Snake grabbed her shoulders. "We need to go, now." But it was already too late. Outside, engines roared. Dozens. Rocco shouted from the stairwell, "We've got company. Black SUVs, 3 of them blocking the exit." Deacon pulled Erin back from the window. "He set a trap. He wanted us here." Brock positioned himself by the door, gripping a crowbar. "We stand our ground." Snake scanned the hallway. "No, we get Erin out first. She's the target." The building shuddered as someone rammed the front entrance downstairs. Harper's men were inside. Footsteps thundered up the stairwell. Deacon grabbed Erin's hand. "Stay with me, no matter what." Erin's heart pounded so hard she thought it might shatter. Not just because Harper's men were coming, but because when she looked again at the last photograph in the folder, it wasn't of her. It was of Zoe. And underneath it, a handwritten note. "Use the kid if needed." Erin's scream was silent, trapped inside her chest. They had to get out. They had to make it back to Zoe, now. The riders fight their way out of the ambush as Erin races to reach the safe house, only to discover Harper's men are already there, and Zoe is missing.
The stairwell door exploded inward as Harper's men swarmed the third floor. Dark clothes, tactical posture, faces masked. Not cops. Not amateurs. Private contractors. The kind who didn't hesitate to make people disappear. "Back!" Snake barked, dragging Erin away from the hallway as a fist-sized flashlight beam swept across the room. Brock shoved a metal filing cabinet in front of the doorway. Bullets tore into it instantly. Erin screamed, covering her ears as the metallic clang ricocheted through the room. "Stay low," Deacon ordered, pulling her behind a desk. Jax ducked behind a pillar, firing a warning shot down the hall. Not to kill, but to buy seconds. "They're coming hard." Snake scanned the windows. "We jump." "From the third floor?" Erin gasped. "Onto that."
Brock pointed to a flat delivery truck parked beside the building. Someone Harper hadn't expected would be there. Fate. Luck. Maybe both. "Move!" Deacon yelled. Snake smashed the side window with his elbow. Glass rained onto the alleyway below. He leapt first, landing hard but controlled. Brock followed. Jax tossed equipment out before jumping. Deacon turned to Aaron. "Your turn." I can't." "Yes, you can." His hands held her face briefly, steadying her. "Zoe needs you. Jump." Her breath locked. Zoe. The thought tore away all fear. She climbed onto the window frame and jumped. The fall was shorter than she expected, and louder. She hit the truck bed with a grunt, pain jolting up her spine, but she was whole. Deacon landed behind her, breaking the last shard of panic in her chest. "Go, go, go!" Snake waved them toward the alley exit. Brock slid into the driver's seat of one of their trucks parked nearby. Jax jumped into the bed. Deacon helped Aaron in, and within seconds, they were speeding away from the ambush. Behind them, Harper's men poured out of the building like a black tide, but none dared fire in the open, not with potential witnesses. Rooftop camera picked it up. Perez will have evidence now. But Aaron couldn't think about that. She held her phone in trembling hands. She needed to call the safe house. She needed to hear Zoe's voice. The line rang once, twice, 3 times. "Come on, Rosa," Aaron begged. No answer. Snake revved his bike faster, shouting into his radio. "Ace, Marcus, status at the safe house." Static. Then a garbled voice. Someone panting. "This is Ace. We're compromised. 2 SUVs rolled up 5 minutes ago. We've got men surrounding the house." Aaron's blood froze. "Where's Zoe?" she screamed into the radio. Static swallowed her question. Then Ace's voice crackled back, strained, panicked. "They're inside. They breached the back." A loud crash. "Marcus is down. Rosa is trying to—" Another crash. Then silence. Snake slammed his fist against the handlebar. Harper's hitting both fronts. He knew we'd go to the building. Aaron's heart shattered. "Please, please get me to my daughter." Brock's truck screeched around a corner so hard Aaron nearly fell sideways. Rain splashed across the windshield. Deacon held her steady as her breathing turned ragged. "We'll get her," he murmured fiercely. "I swear to you." "Faster!" Aaron cried. "Please!" Snake whipped around the final turn into Maple Ridge. Her stomach dropped. The safe house street was lit with flashing porch lights, car alarms, and motion sensors. One SUV was blocking the driveway. The front door hung open, splintered. Not a single rider stood guard. "Go! Go!" Aaron screamed, already climbing out before the truck fully stopped. Deacon jumped out behind her, pistol drone. "Clear the left," he shouted to Brock and Jax. Aaron didn't wait. She ran inside, slipping on broken glass, stumbling over a toppled lamp. "Zoe!" Her voice broke. "Zoe!" No answer. She checked the living room. Empty. Kitchen. Empty. Bedroom. Empty. Sheets on the floor. Stuffed dinosaur torn apart. She cracked. "Zoe, baby! Hanserwama!" She cried out, voice ricocheting through the ruined house. She burst into the backyard. Nothing. Only the rain and 2 sets of muddy footprints leading toward the alleyway. A shaky voice called from the corner. "Aaron?" "Rosa." She ran to her. The older woman was slumped against the garden fence, bruised, panting but alive. "Rosa," Aaron sobbed. "Where's Zoe? Where is she?" Rosa's eyes filled. I tried," she whispered. "I grabbed her, but they took her, Aaron. They took your baby." She fell to her knees, a raw scream carrying from her throat the kind of sound a mother makes when part of her soul is ripped away. Deacon knelt beside her, gripping her shoulders, his own face collapsing with fury and grief. Snake stood behind them, rain dripping off his leather, eyes burning with lethal promise. They think taking a child will break us. They have no idea what they've started. Aaron looked up, tears mixing with the rain, voice shaking with devastation and rage. "I'm going to get my daughter back." Her voice grew harder. and I'm going to end Gavin Harper. Harper demands an impossible exchange. The riders mobilize for their most dangerous rescue mission yet, and Aaron discovers the shocking truth behind why Harper wanted Zoe and the deadly secret her ex-husband left behind.
Rain hammered the asphalt like the sky itself was shaking with Aaron's fury. She stood in the middle of the broken safe house living room, fists trembling, breath ragged. Everything smelled like mud, panic, and splintered wood. Zoe was gone. Rosa, bruised and pale, held Aaron's shaking hands. "They didn't hurt her, Aaron. They snatched her fast, but they didn't hurt her. I'm so sorry. I fought. Marcus fought. They outnumbered us." Aaron nodded, though her vision swirled. "Thank you," she whispered. "You protected her as long as you could." Snake stepped forward, phone in hand. "Harper contacted us." Aaron's chest seized. "What did he say?" Snake turned the phone so she could see the message. A picture. Zoe in the back seat of an SUV, a blanket around her. She wasn't crying, just confused. Below it, a line of text. "Bring Aaron. Alone. Warehouse 47, 1 hour." Her stomach plunged. "It's a trap." "Yes," Snake said, "but we're going anyway." Deacon added, "He wants leverage. He won't hurt her until he gets what he wants." Aaron's voice cracked. "What does he want? Why my daughter? Why me?" Snake exchanged a look with Deacon, one of those heavy looks that meant something difficult was coming. Perez called. He dug deeper into your ex-husband's sealed case files. Aaron braced herself. Jacob Walker wasn't just caught up in financial fraud. He was laundering money through Harper's developments. Aaron froze. Snake continued. "And in the last months of his life with you, Jacob started copying documents, insurance, files that proved Harper used shell companies to bribe zoning boards, silence inspectors, and buy votes." Aaron shook her head. "Jacob never told me anything." "He didn't need to." Deacon's voice softened. "Perez thinks Jacob hid a drive in your belongings when he disappeared." Aaron remembered Jacob's rushed packing, the night he stormed out, the box he shoved into her closet without explanation, the small, fireproof lockbox she never opened. "Oh my God," she whispered. "He hid evidence with me?" "Harper is certain you know. He thinks Jacob told you. He's terrified that drive will destroy him." Aaron staggered, gripping the counter for balance. "Zoe, he took her because of Jacob? Because of something I didn't even know existed?" Deacon pulled her into his chest. "We're getting her back, you hear me? We are getting her back." Warehouse 47 sat alone at the edge of the industrial district, a rusted metal skeleton against the storm-lit sky. No other cars, no guards visible. Too quiet. Snake parked a block away, the riders dismounted silently, weapons low, eyes sharp. Aaron stepped out last, heart pounding like a war drum. Deacon knelt before her. "Stay behind me. Don't let Harper draw you in." But Aaron's fear had burned into something else, something sharper. "I'm not leaving without my daughter," she said. Inside the warehouse, dim floodlights flickered. Stacks of crates formed narrow corridors. The air smelled of oil and rot. A man stepped out from the shadows. Gavin Harper. Tailored suit, perfect hair. Eyes cold as winter steel. Beside him, Zoe sat on a crate, blanket around her shoulders, cheeks flushed with fear, but unharmed. "Mama!" she cried, voice breaking. Aaron lunged forward, but Harper raised a hand. "One more step and this entire building goes up." He clicked a small remote. A red light blinked under several crates. Explosives. Aaron's pulse thrashed. "Let her go! You have something that belongs to me. Jacob's drive. Hand it over, and you can have the girl." Aaron swallowed hard. "I don't have it." "You do," Harper said, voice coiling like a snake. "You maybe don't know where, but you have it." "Let her go," Aaron repeated. "She's just a child." Children grow up, and some become witnesses. Problems must be managed. Before Harper could breathe another word, a flashlight beam crossed his face. A voice boomed from behind him. "Police! Drop it, Harper!" Detective Perez stepped out of the shadows with 2 officers, guns drawn. Harper spun, startled. That second, that single slip was all Snake needed. "Move!" Snake roared. The grim riders surged in from every direction. Brock tackled one of Harper's men. Jax snatched the detonator remote from Harper's hand. Deacon leapt over crates and reached Zoe, pulling her into his arms as she sobbed into his shoulder. Aaron collapsed around her daughter, holding her so tightly Zoe squeaked. "I've got you, baby. I'm here. Mom is here." Perez cuffed Harper, reading him his rights as Harper screamed threats that echoed uselessly across the warehouse. The riders stood circling Aaron and Zoe like a human shield, soaked in rain and fury and victory. Zoe pressed her cheek against Aaron's chest. "Mama, I wasn't scared. I knew you'd come." Aaron cried harder. "I always will." Perez approached gently. "We found the drive, hidden in Jacob's old lockbox in your safe house closet. That, plus everything tonight, will bury Harper for life." Aaron exhaled, a lifetime of fear leaving her in one breath. Snake placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. "It's over." Aaron looked at the riders, the men who had protected her, who'd risked their lives for Zoe. "No," she corrected softly. "It's just beginning." 3 months later, Aaron stood in front of a newly built community center, funded by grants, city support, and the Ritters' sweat. Zoe played on the swings with Marcus and Jax acting like playground bodyguards. Deacon slipped an arm around Aaron. "We did okay, huh?" Aaron smiled. "We did better than okay. Family wasn't something she found, it was something that found her. And this one, loud, leather-clad, loyal to the bone, had become home."